So tonight we're gonna have stuffed shells for dinner. I usually make this in the lasagna form, but I thought I'd switch it up with some shells. So for this, you're gonna need a box of jumbo shells. This was a whole bag of frozen spinach that I'm just letting it thaw. You're gonna wanna squeeze the water out of this really, really good when we go to mix it in with our ricotta. Whatever jar of pasta you like, salt, pepper, a third of a cup of Parmesan cheese, a couple tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I got a tub here of ricotta. The recipe is supposed to be 500 grams, but the only tubs we could find were 454. That'll do. I'm not complaining. A little bit of dill. I have dried dill there. I'm going to chop up an onion and 2 garlic cloves, and we're also going to need an egg.
Adding bacon to our filling too.
I just got my big pot of water coming to a boil, and I got my pan ready to saute some onions and garlic.
Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dice up our onions so that we can get them in the pan softening up a little bit. I'm doing small dices because I don't want big chunks of onion in my filling, so I'm just going to go ahead and chop those up and add them into the pan. Adding 2 tablespoons or so of olive oil, and the onions go in. We're going to go ahead and chop up our garlic now. I tried to chop it up super fine. If you have already pre-chopped garlic, that would make this go even faster. Adding that to the pan as well and giving it a little bit of a stir. Now we're going to take about 8 strips of bacon, and I'm just stacking them on top of each other for ease of cutting. And we're going to cut them into strips. And then chopping them up a little bit more fine. Adding that to the pan as well so that they can render down. Now that my pot is boiling, I'm adding in my shells. That was a really bad decision. I had hot water splashing on me. Don't do that. So next I'm just taking my spinach and I'm just really squeezing out all of that extra water. Because of how this was frozen spinach, you will end up with a really watery filling if you don't do this step. So take the time, squeeze it out real good. If you have a cheesecloth, that would be even better. That's a lot of liquid that I pulled out of that spinach. I don't want that in my filling. So I've popped the filling into the bowl. I'm going to go ahead and add in my tub of ricotta. Adding in 1 egg. And then I realized as I was doing that I forgot to add in my dill. I wanted to add in the dill to the pan just so that it can release a little bit of flavor. So I'm going ahead and giving it a quick stir before I add in the rest of my ingredients. I'm going to add in a third of a cup of Parmesan cheese. This was already grated Parmesan cheese. Some salt and pepper is what's going in next. And this is my secret weapon. You can add this in if you want to. It's totally optional, but a little bit of ground nutmeg is amazing with ricotta. So now that my onions and bacon have all sauteed down really nicely, I'm adding them now to my filling, and we're going to give that a really good mix through. Lining my pan with a little bit of sauce just so that the noodles don't stick. You're just going to cover the bottom of it. And now we're just going to go one by one, filling the shells with our filling. And once you have your tray full, then you can add sauce on top of it. But what was awesome was I had enough to make 2 trays. So I ended up with a freezer meal out of this. I just needed an extra jar of sauce. But I had enough noodles and enough filling. So I'm just going ahead and prepping my freezer meal. And this is going to be great because I can use this now for next month. Topping the noodles off with the sauce, like I said. And then I'm just trying to cover the noodles and then sprinkling it with Parmesan cheese on top. This is gonna get put back into the oven just at 350, and we're gonna bake it for about a half an hour. You need the egg to cook, so that's why it cooks for so long. This is a finished meal. I served it with a Caesar salad on the side. So next we are having chicken fajitas. So I had some leftover peppers in the freezer, so I pulled those out to let them defrost. This is like my morning prep. I think it was like 8:30 in the morning. I've also chopped up the onion, so I have that all in there ready to go. And then this is pieces of chicken that I've filleted that I'm now just defrosting. And I'm actually going to go ahead and season everything now so that it's defrosting and marinating, I guess, all day, so that it's super flavorful when I go and cook it. So my first ingredient is cumin. My problem is I don't measure any of this stuff, so you just add in as much as you want. Paprika is what's coming up next, and I just do a sprinkle of it. Pretty sure this was chili powder. It was definitely chili powder. Some cayenne. I don't know why I measured that one. I think that was 1/8 of a teaspoon though. Some salt and pepper. And we're going to go ahead and give that a really good stir, just so that all of the veggies get covered in the seasoning so that it can sit all day with that seasoning on it. The chicken I'm just going to leave as is. So now that it's the evening time, my chicken is fully defrosted. It has the seasoning on it already. I've just tossed it in a pan with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and I've fried them up until they were completely cooked through. I'm taking them out now, and then I'm going to cut them into strips. Since my pan is now empty, I'm adding in the peppers and the onions into the saute pan, and those are going to get nice and soft. While my onions and peppers are sauteing away, I'm going to prep my toppings. So I just have some iceberg lettuce here that I like to chop up. I'm also going to be chopping up a little bit of red onion. Chopping up some cherry tomatoes. And now we're grating some cheese. So I'm just chopping up that chicken, and what I'm actually going to do is, now that my peppers and onions have sauteed really nicely, I'm going to go ahead and add this chicken into the pan with the peppers and onions. Just so that when you go to grab some to put onto your tortilla, you get a nice helping of everything all at once. So this was the finished burrito wrap fajita. It ended up being like burrito size. It was huge. It was delicious. Next up, we have this epicure pulled pork. We're gonna have pulled pork for dinner. This seasoning was so good. It was so good. So I've just displayed the directions there for you so that you can see what ingredients you need. But this seasoning pack, it was probably my family's favorite. So I decided to mix all of my ingredients into a bowl first, and then I pour the sauce over top of the meat. So I have my 1 cup of ketchup there, and I have the seasoning packet already in the bowl. So we're just gonna add that in. I have a 1/2 cup of vinegar that I'm going to be adding in. Also adding in that 1/4 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Gonna give that a good whisk and make sure that everything is well combined. And it gets nice and thick, much like a barbecue sauce. If you don't have these, you need to get some. Man, washing the slow cooker is such a task, but with these liners, it's amazing. You just literally pick it up out of the slow cooker and throw it in the garbage, and there is no cleanup as long as you didn't pierce a hole in the bag or something. But you can find these at Walmart. That was a 6-pack. I actually bought it off of Amazon too. I think they were about $6 Canadian each box, but they are totally worth the money. So I've gone ahead and added in my pork roast there, and I've poured the sauce over top, making sure that the sauce gets around everywhere. Throwing the lid on that bad boy. And we're going to be cooking it for 6 hours on high just because it was still frozen. And this is the final meal after it was all shredded and it sat in the sauce for a little bit longer. I have a little bit of a salad on the side, and I just served it with some buttered bread as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!